The night is darkest just before the dawn. Batman said that. Well, no, Two-Face said that, but you know what I'm trying to say. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things college football, EA college football, pro football, Madden, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Again, it's not going to cost you anything. All it's going to cost you is being up to date on all of those things. Hit the like button, share button, all that kind of stuff. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, guys, so I've been covering a lot of college football now, and a lot of things right now before Conference Championship week. This is going to be big. There's a lot of things going on there, but there's a lot of coaching changes and this and that. There was one thing that happened in the coaching ranks that, man, the University of Nebraska is at their bottom pit right now. It's one of the lowest things I think we've seen in a long time for them, and this is one last boo-boo on them before they head into the Matt Rhule era. Bam, here we are with ESPN.com. Nebraska's Mickey Joseph arrested on suspicion of assault. Not a good one here from Adam Rittenberg. Mickey Joseph, who served as the interim head coach of Nebraska Cornhuskers for 9 games this season, was arrested Wednesday on suspicion of strangulation and third-degree domestic assault, the Lincoln Police Department said. The Lincoln Police Department said officers were dispatched to the residence on a domestic disturbance call. After an investigation, officers arrested Joseph, 54, at a separate location and booked him in Lancaster County Jail. Joseph was placed on administrative leave by Nebraska Athletic Director Trev Alberts following the arrest. So again, he was the interim coach, and now he's like kind of not necessarily the interim coach. It'll break down kind of what's happening with him here. He was the interim coach after Cornhuskers fired Scott Frost on September 11th. Nebraska went 3-6 under Joseph, finishing the season 4-8 before hiring Carolina Panthers coach Matt Rhule to an 8-year deal as the program's new head coach on Saturday. At Rhule's introductory press conference, he credited Joseph and Nebraska staff for how they finished the season. Joseph's amended contract after he became the interim head coach stated he would return to his role as the wide receivers coach, passing game coordinator, and associate head coach if someone else was named the permanent coach. The contract stated Joseph would be owed his original buyout if not retained without cause. Rhule had not announced whether Joseph would be retained on his staff. Rhule declined to comment to the Associated Press through an athletic department spokesman Wednesday night. He was a quarterback from 1988 to 1991. They kind of go through his past here. Again, remember here, these are allegations right now, so we don't really know what this is at this point. It's certainly not a good look, but he was a quarterback from 88 to 91. He was arrested in September 1990 on suspicion of criminal mischief for allegedly breaking an exterior window and damaging an inner window while trying to enter his girlfriend's apartment. According to the police reports, the girlfriend's roommate told officers there had been a domestic dispute going on for several hours. No charges were filed in the case because of uncooperative witnesses. Joseph was also arrested on suspicion of drunken driving in Lincoln in 1989 and suspended for 1 game. He returned to Nebraska last December. Before that, he spent 5 years on LSU staff, and then he spent 2 seasons as the head coach of Langston University and an NAIA program. Well, certainly remember here, these are all allegations. He was arrested on suspicion of assault. We'll see what that means, but it's not a great look as he goes out and Matt Rhule comes in. I will say, the night is darkest just before the dawn. Batman said that. Well, no, Two-Face said that, but you know what I'm trying to say. So that's what we have right now. So Matt Rhule takes over a position where he takes over a team where, again, they had, long time success for a couple of head coaches, brought in some new guys, didn't really turn out the way they wanted to. Actually, as a matter of fact, their impatience actually showed them how far down they could go. I think that Nebraska's ADs and the fan base got a little, what's the term I want to say here? They got a little expecting of wins. You'll see the fact that happened to them is because they were doing very well, and then they kind of fell off. Despite the fact they were doing pretty good, they still fired their head coach, and then they went down even further than they thought they would. Let's see what that was going on. So like I said before here, look at this year. Scott Frost won 1-2. Mickey Joseph won 3-6. They lost to Northwestern. I think they won 1 game this year. So really bad 4-8, and then 3-9, 3-5, 5-7, 4-8, 4-8 from Scott Frost and Mike Riley, who took over. Mike Riley was 9-4. Imagine this. Imagine 9-4 and being a little upset. 9-4. We're in Nebraska, man. Look at all these bowl games they went to here. They went 9-4. They're like, you know what, man? Mike Riley's on the hot seat. They go 4-8. They're like, we got to get rid of him. And then Scott Frost, the hometown hero, 4-8, 5-7, 3-5, 3-9, and then 1-2 before he gets fired. It just never materialized. You see the fact though that Nebraska is a fairly impatient place. Bo Pelini, 9-3, 9-4, 10-4, 9-4, 10-4, 10-4, 9-4. He lost 4 games almost every year except for the last one he was there. But you see the fact that they were ranked 11, 18, 14, 8, 5, 14, consistently ranked here. So they were a solid team, but they weren't quite what they wanted to be. Brought in Mike Riley, took them down. You come over here before, and they saw this before again. They had Bill Callahan in here after taking over for Frank Solich. So Frank Solich, after recovering for Tom Osborne, the legendary head coach, Frank Solich goes 9-4, 12-1, 10-2, 11-2, 7-7, and then 9-3, and then Bo Pelini took over in that bowl game, and then Bill Callahan comes in 5-6, 8-4, 9-5, and then 5-7. So not what they wanted to do. But you see, look at this track record right here. This is incredible here. Only a couple years missed. Nebraska is an incredibly storied program. I reviewed Auburn recently, and I said, I think they think they're a little bit better than they are. Now, granted, they do have a national championship within the last 10, 20 years, but Nebraska's got several within the last 20 years, if we want to get technical there. So they are just, it's one of those things where you see what they're used to, and man, they can be so good. But if you look at these last couple of years, think about this. They haven't been to a bowl game since 2017. San Jose State in the Mountain West and in the WAC, the doormats of the conference. They have a conference championship. And sooner than Nebraska has gone to a bowl game. Nebraska, legendary Nebraska, 5 national championship Nebraska. It's a crazy, crazy look for them right now. Now, the good news here, Matt Rhule has a lot going for him. He is a program builder. Again, maybe not necessarily in college, but we did break down the difference between making a team in college and making a team in the pros. Pros, you have to get a quarterback. You have to be good with the salary cap. You have to be lucky with some draft picks and things like that. College, you can get 8 first-round picks if you want to. You can get 8 second-round picks if you want to, depending upon how good you are at recruiting. He's a program builder. Took over Temple, 2-10, 6-6, 10-4, and 10-3. Baylor 11-1, 7-6, and then 1-11, 7-6, and then 11-3. Obviously, the pros was different. Only one 5-11, 5-12, and 1-4. Not so great there, but Matt Rhule knows what he's doing here. And I want to make sure we can break something down because if you look at the history of their record, so this is where it gets interesting because if you really think about this, okay, so I think a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, well, these old days of Nebraska, these can just never come back. They can never come back. If you're really being honest, what is different here when they're winning all these national championships that doesn't exist here? If we go through and break down some of these situations, okay? Nebraska has plenty of money, all right? They have a $1.7 billion endowment. They are one of the wealthiest, most valuable brands in college football. That's not an issue. I mean, Hugh Freeze was brought on for $6.5 million per year with Auburn, a program that's desperate to get their head coach in there. Matt Rhule was given $9 million a year, okay? They ain't the same. Okay, Nebraska's got as much dough as you want. Okay, dough. That's not a big issue here. Okay, competition. They're in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten just got USC and UCLA. That is now again, they're not going to get them right away, but eventually this next season will happen, and then the next year, Nebraska is 12 to potentially 13 or 14. I know that's saying they're going to go to a conference championship and bowl game. I'm just saying they're potentially 12 to 14 games away from having USC and UCLA in their conference. I'm telling you right now, New York, LA, DC, Chicago. Detroit, Columbus, everything like that. They are all in the Big Ten. The exposure is not going to be an issue. Big Ten's got plenty of money. They have plenty of money. The only issue here, and I want to make sure I bring in this, you're going to see a little connection here with this. So come over here to this right here. And Joel Klatt had mentioned this before. So you see how this is, it was Big 8 for a while, and then Big 12, Big 12, Big 12, and then we go to Big 10 right here. Now think about this. Texas and Oklahoma announced last year that they were going to the SEC. They said the first year they were going to do it was 2025. So think about that. 2021 going in 2025, 4 years. This is nuts. In the June of 2010, they applied for membership to the Big Ten and got accepted. And then they left 6 months later. Now, technically, they were recruiting, how should I say this? They were recruiting 6 months later for being in the Big Ten. But at the same time, they basically only had 1 calendar year until they left for the Big Ten. So if you think about this right here, they were recruiting all of these days right here for Texas. So we recruit in Texas, we play in Texas. All of these years, and then boom, it stops. They really only had 6 months to rush there or run this by their recruits, and then they started to play in the Big Ten. So rather than playing games at Waco or Lubbock or Norman or things like that down there in the south. They're now starting to play in the north. So with that, they still do pretty well, 9-4, 10-4, 9-4, 9-4. But you see here, this right here was the switch. So this first season, 2011 was the first season with primarily you were recruiting to go play in the Big Ten. So we have, let's assume you're a freshman here, so freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then maybe a red shirt or something like that. Mike Riley was still able to hold it over for one additional year, but you see how generally when that recruiting class kind of fell off, it really, really went downhill quickly, and it stayed down. I think a big aspect behind that is they haven't really replaced recruiting from Texas as well as they can. So coming over here to Lincoln, Nebraska, the only issue with Lincoln, Nebraska is, one, it's cold, but remember, it's been cold for years. Okay, it was cold when they were winning national championships. That's not an issue. And if it was cold, people wouldn't go to Ohio State, people wouldn't go to Michigan. So take that excuse, throw it away. However, the big thing hurting them is that it's very isolated. Omaha and Lincoln, not exactly the best place to recruit football players. Kansas City's all right. St. Louis is pretty good. Chicago's pretty good. They need to start hitting these places a little bit more. The thing about the Big Ten is if you come over here and see what they're going to be playing in, we've got, St. Louis is reasonably close to Champaign, Indy, Cincy, Columbus, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., Philly, New Jersey, Detroit, Chicago, Minneapolis. That's where they need to be moving their recruiting to, places that they're visiting. Also, doesn't hurt that you're also going to be having, guess who in your conference? UCLA and USC. I would not be surprised. I'm telling you, if Matt Rhule is worth his weight in gold, or is worth his salt, or is smart, he's recruiting in LA tomorrow. So like I said before, it's definitely a boo-boo. Nobody wants to see the whole situation. And remember, it's all allegations at this point. We don't know what it is. But again, Matt Rhule he's got to recover, the fan base. He's got to recover the roster. He's got to do so many different things. He's got to create an identity. He's got to create a culture. There's a lot of things he has to do. However, we went over a lot of things there. There is no reason, absolutely zero reason in 2022 and going forward that you can't win a national championship at Nebraska. It's going to get more difficult, but remember here, Alabama has won national championships in the SEC West. The SEC is a murderer's row of a conference. In some ways, those big-time teams elevate your play. There's no reason why Nebraska can't do that, even if they have to play Ohio State, Michigan, UCLA, USC going forward. All right, guys, get in the comments here. Anybody who's a Nebraska fan, again, where are you guys at right now? What are you looking forward to? I know it's easy to just kind of put that on your mind with the whole thing, but man, I hope you guys figure it out because I have a friend who's a Nebraska fan, and I'm going to be interviewing it someday. When I get to 1,000 subs, he's the first one. He's already hounded me about it. But get in the comments right now. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. Let me know what you think about Matt Rhule going forward. All that, I really appreciate it. So for me, guys, I will see you guys later. I am out.